Okay. Morning. Selamat pagi. Happy Merdeka to Malaya. Selamat pagi. Yeah, happy Merdeka to Malaya. Thank you to everybody who logged on.
Merdeka.
Yeah. So we'll do a special 4th of July for James, and then Julian, you tell me what you want to celebrate for UK lah. You tell us.
George's Day.
Yeah. Maybe yeah. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the season 1 finale of On the Ball. We've been on the live on Facebook for the last few months. Thank you for following us. Today's special edition on Merdeka Day is a Monday today. It's about a topic on discussion of the top 5 definitive sports athletes for basketball, badminton, and track and field. And then later on, we will discuss about who we think are the unsung heroes. So, James, how are you today? Morning, James. How are you?
Good, thank you, Rick. How are you doing?
Okay, just came back from a quick trip to Janda Bai. It was a good trip with the family.
I saw the pictures. It looked beautiful. 4-wheeling.
Yeah, ATV. It was quite fun, actually. It was surprisingly fun.
Yeah, well, that's how my stepson broke his arm 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God!
I'm glad you came back in one piece.
Oh my God, he fell down. Is it? Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he's okay.
Okay, hang in there. Hey, Julian, how are you, man, Julian?
I'm very good, mate. Very good. I'm feeling good this morning. Woke up in a good mood. That's not a bad thing. I can get miserable inside when I wake up in a bad one.
Looks like Everton will get Ellen. Is it the Brazilian player?
It does seem that way. As well as James from his name's James from Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think they pronounce him as James.
James
Rodriguez. Yeah, James Rodriguez. So before we start discussing about our top 5 definitive players, any news you want to share with us, Julian? You want to share with us any news?
Yeah, I just want to talk about Messi. Given the fact that he's put himself in the shop window saying he wants to transfer. And look, that seems to be a bunch of various reasons, but I think one of the main ones was actually twofold, I think. One, the president, you can't stand the president, Bartomeu, or however you pronounce his surname. He didn't like the way that when Koeman came in and he straight away told Luis Suarez that he's not part of his plans. And Suarez and Messi are very, very good friends. That obviously went through his mind. But I think he also believed that he had a contract clause that says something about him being able to leave for free up until a certain date before the start of a new season. Now, that date has finished, but he's claiming that because of COVID, that should be extended because the season's ended later. Anyway, long story short, the La Liga have told him that no, that clause is not valid after the date, but he's insisting he wants to leave. Now, the subtext behind that is the fact that Barcelona are in serious, and I mean serious, financial trouble. Despite being possibly the richest club in the world, they have spent a lot of money with big wages, a lot of underperforming players, Coutinho, Dembele, even Griezmann has not really been playing up to the real standard. So, they paid over 100 million for each of those. And so, good morning, Stan. And so, I'd really like to see how this plays out. Will our friend Mr. Messi leave Barcelona, and who would he go to? Will he command a fee? Because his wages alone are going to cost you 100 million a year.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
There's only very few teams. I mean, one thing everyone was all talking about. Oh, wouldn't it be great if he went to Juventus and played with Ronaldo? But can Juventus afford another 100 million? It's debatable. So Man City is talk of Man City, but you're getting a player that's still at the top of his game. Maybe a little bit less than he had been previously, but he's 33. There's no sell-on value, obviously, if you pay 100 million for it.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one, actually. There's a lot of different subtext to it.
So who do you think he fits best with, or what kind of team is a match
club
for
in the
him?
world would love him. I think Man City would be an interesting move. I just really can't see many clubs being able to afford it. If they have to pay,
what does he want?
Does
he want to keep winning, or does he just want to make money? What is his goal now when he moves to another new team?
Good question. I don't know whether that's come out really.
Well, in the States, a lot of players will move late in their career, but they want to go to a team that has a chance to win. To win right away. With them being there, they want to win right away, kind of like LeBron moving to Lakers. He wants them to win, right now. So I'm just wondering what his motivation will be when he chooses, because he's got all the money in the world, right? He doesn't need that money. So
correct.
What then is his motivation? It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Be interesting. I mean, I think he might have been stung by the fact that Ronaldo has got a lot of kudos by going to Juventus and basically winning another championship in another country. So he's won a championship in Spain, in Italy, and in England. And Messi's just done it in one place. Anyway, it's an interesting. I'll be very interested to see how it folds out in the next few weeks, and if he does move. I actually don't think he will move, but you never know.
Interesting. What about you, James? What's your news of the week?
Well, my news of the week it's just a short thing, but the NFL season is coming up. Obviously, a lot of question marks still with COVID, but fantasy football is moving into high gear, and all the fantasy leagues around the U.S. It's a $7 billion industry, so it's not just fun and games. They're all doing their draft in the next week or so. So all you fantasy football players, good luck in your first round, picking your studs. And have a great season. And a quick shout out to Andy Clendenin. Thanks for your comments, and also Mark. Nice comment just now. Sam Squid. His actual name is Mark. Good to see you.
Okay. And just quick shout out for anyone that's watching that's looking for a really good fantasy game. Go to kickstocks.com. KICKSTOX.com. And it's the coolest fancy game in the world because it's transfer deadline day every day. You buy and sell players. You buy and sell players when you want, and it's all about the value of the players.
Yep.
My Alexa started up. I had no idea what the hell that was. Anyway, try Kickstocks. It's very cool.
That was a classic, Julian.
I've got an Alexa behind me, and I have no idea what it's. Kickstocks obviously sounds like Alexa.
It'd be interesting to see that app. Yeah.
And for my friends, that's football as in soccer. So Kickstocks is a soccer game, not an American NFL football game. So
yeah.
And Julian, you keep disappearing whenever you do whatever it is with your.
I changed tabs to read something else.
And then you disappear on our screen.
Okay, good to know.
Okay. Also on my side, a very quick one. Just sharing news about local football player Muhammad Sumare. He's actually an African-born player who's been given a Malaysian nationality. He's a national player for Malaysia. He's gone missing from training from Pahang for the last 1 month, and that has appeared in the news. So we're unsure why. I guess that news will continue to develop. We'll know more in a few days' time.
So nobody knows where he is, or?
Well, apparently he's still in Malaysia. The news that he is somewhere in KL, PJ, but that's unverified. And then whereas the club Pahang FA is pretty upset, of course, he's not back. But I somehow suspect that it's a still water runs deep. But there's a lot more story to that. I'm not very sure what it is. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's go into our topic for today. So, ladies and gentlemen, a few weeks ago, we had a similar topic, which surprisingly was well received by the viewers. The discussion of the definitive top 5. And today, we are trying to find the definitive top 5 players for basketball, badminton, and the track and field. So let's start off with maybe any of you want to share your view, what you think of the word definitive first? Julian, maybe
you share it. You share it.
I share. Okay.
You're the one that looked it up the other day.
You're the one who knows about that phrase.
Well, my view is that the word definitive doesn't necessarily mean the best. We're looking at the naturally when the player is the best, they are also the definitive player naturally. But there are some players who define the sports, but was not a number one player, for example. So, like in Malaysia, Lee Chong Wei defines badminton, the way he plays, his deft touches. But he unfortunately never won the gold medal for Olympics. But I would put him as a definitive player. So that is how I would define it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep. So maybe James, you want to share with us your definitive top 5 players for basketball?
Basketball. Okay, sure. So what I did in basketball was I went by position because there's also 5 positions in basketball. So top center, top point guard, top shooting guard, top forwards. So from my center, drum roll, my top center of all time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He takes it over Shaq, over Bill Russell. He's still the number 1 point scorer of all time in the NBA. So that's even after Jordan, after all these other players, he's still number 1. That tells you a lot about how great he was. That sky hook, talk about definitive. He defined the game. That shot defined how he played. 6 titles, 6 NBA titles, 6 MVPs, 6 MVP awards, and he was an All-Star 19 times. 19 times in the All-Star game. So that's a huge number of credentials for him. So moving on to guard, obviously on the shooting guard, I have Michael Jordan. He's the best player ever, probably, even though he wasn't the top scorer ever. But I'm sure people would say he was the best player ever. 6-time NBA champ, 5-time MVP, 14 times played in the All-Star game. So I'm sure he's got to be on everyone's list when you talk about basketball. But point guard, a little bit maybe controversial here. I have Steph Curry. Curry, 3-time title winner, NBA title winner with Golden State, 2-time MVP, 6-time All-Star. But he basically redefined the game in terms of the utilization of the 3-point shot. So before he played, there was something like 40% less 3-pointers taken in general. Once he started showing that 3-pointer should be shot more often, then all the teams adopted that strategy, and now everybody's shooting 3-pointers, and it's a big part of the game because obviously scoring
crazy,
3 more than
that's crazy.
Yeah, and he will be seen as the best shooter ever in the game's history once he retires, but he's still playing, so he's still racking up titles and statistics.
I mean, that's changing the game, isn't it? That's totally changing the game.
That's the definitive element.
Yeah. I had no idea about that. That's very cool.
I just found that out while researching for him. But I knew obviously he was a great 3-point shooter and all that, but I didn't realize the effect that he had on the game. Then the Dr. J for forward, Julius Irving. I don't know if you've heard of him.
All right. Of course.
He was kind of the Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan. Yeah. No, he didn't have the glasses. That was
the other player.
Yeah, that was a guy from the Lakers. I forget his name, but anyway, Dr. J won the slam dunk contest. He's the first guy to jump from the free throw line. He made slam dunking like a regular thing to do. He made dunking with style a regular thing to do. So he was just a flamboyant player, but he did win 3 NBA titles, 4 MVPs. So a great player. And my last player, definitive top 5, drum roll please, Larry Bird. As a forward, 3-time NBA champ, 3-time MVP, 12-time All-Star, just a great shooter, great, gritty player. He was just tough and a great champion. So I think there's my basketball top 5.
Interesting. Well done. Nice list. I like the Steph Curry one. That's one I would never have thought of. But fair play. Oh, shut up.
So many to choose from. Alexa likes it too.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know we had Alexa in Malaysia. They should call her something else. Putri. Putri.
Yeah.
Oh, how about you, Jules? Yeah, what were your top 5?
But I have to admit, I know very little about basketball. I know a little bit in terms of I know some names. I've seen a few games, but I couldn't even remotely pretend to be an expert. But a shout out to Wayne Chan, a buddy of mine I used to play football with. He's a basketball coach, and he reckoned we should shout out to Ivan Yo, who's a great basketball player from Malaysia, I believe. And also a shout out to the women's basketball coach from Malaysia, who has won the SEA Games for Malaysia in the women's basketball. I think she's just retired, so no idea what her name is, but it was all in Chinese, so fair play to her. Anyway, back to my favourite, or at least I think the basketball players. I think obviously Michael Jordan, no brainer. See, a lot of the names that I've come up with is just names I've heard of. I have no idea how good they were. I've never seen them play. Read a little bit about them, but really, just no idea. But I'm figuring they've got to be good because I've heard of them. So Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, because that was growing up, and how he, then he got AIDS, was this huge issue. Well, no, he didn't get AIDS. He was HIV positive, and is still seemingly as healthy as ever. And then the other ones I had was Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Again, someone like I had Dr. J as my sort of honourable mention, but not because I didn't really know who was better, Kareem or Dr. J. And then my final one I had in there was LeBron, because from what I hear, and I haven't watched a single second of him play. From what I hear, he's pretty damn good, and I think he won after going to Cleveland Cavaliers, not really winning anything, bringing them close, but not winning anything. Then he moved and actually won some titles, I think, with Miami. Did he win with Miami, Jim?
He won with Miami. One came back to Cleveland. He won there, and then now he's at the Lakers, where he probably won.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then an honourable mention I also had was Larry Bird, Bill Russell. Again, don't even know what he looks like, but I keep hearing about him, so he must have been fairly decent.
Bill Russell, he was a rebounder. He made rebounding, like he redefined how to rebound. He was like the Rodman before Rodman, basically.
Got you. Anyway, the one I have seen a lot of, and who just amazed me, and I loved watching him, was Vince Carter. Oh, Vince Carter, just the skill and he's I love that type of player, mercurial. Maybe not the best of all time, but when on song, untouchable.
He was exciting. He was an exciting player. He won the slam dunk contest. They thought he was going to be the next Michael Jordan because he came out of North Carolina. But a great player. He had a great career. Ended up with Toronto. Great player. Right. I like your picks. The one that was interesting to me was one thing that I had an issue with is Kobe Bryant. Why isn't Kobe Bryant on any of our lists? And he might have slipped into Ric's list. We'll see in a minute. But when I was going by position, I'm thinking shooting guard. When you have to choose, if you're picking a team, literally, like you could pick a team of anybody from history, and you got to choose between Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. It's like, how do you do that even? So I think Kobe for me was an honorable mention, obviously, but and LeBron, great player, but there's so many great ones to pick from that you're not going to go wrong. So Ric, what did you what were your top five, definitive top five?
Yeah, it was tough for me actually, and Kobe Bryant was in my honorable list. Funnily, I know he unfortunately passed away, but for some reason I was never fond of him. Maybe because he was playing for Lakers. I'm a Celtic fan.
Celtics fan,
yeah. But for me, my personal definitive player, I think you guys heard me mentioning many times, is Larry Bird, because he was ahead of his time when he was playing in the 80s. I read a lot about him. Players were not targeting a 3-pointer as the way to win the game, and he was ahead of his time at the time. And for many times, he saved Celtics. He was the Jordan of Celtics at the time, together with Robert Parrish and Danny Ainge, the three of them, the triangular.
Don't forget about Kevin McHale. He's my Minnesota boy. McHale was in there. You always forget about him. I'm telling you, McHale was important to that team.
Kevin McHale was a big guy with a very broad shoulder. I remember him.
Right.
He was really good. Yes. So Larry Bird. But ironically, what James mentioned about Stephen Curry, I was about to mention the same thing. That Stephen Curry, he has now taken the 3-point game again, very much like Larry Bird, and made it into a killer point. And many players are now copying him, training to get that hoop. He's brilliant. So my current definitive player is Stephen Curry. Then the other definitive player is, of course, has to be Michael Jordan because of the way he changed the game. Before his time, we get players like Kevin McHale, and then on Celtic side is Magic Johnson, but nobody as powerful as Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is just a powerful player. So he defined the game for me. The other one I like to mention is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, because nobody else can do that hook. He's super brilliant. But I want to apologize. I don't have any women basketball player in my list. I just don't follow them. So I apologize to ladies here. We're not being sexist. I genuinely do not know any women basketball players. So no one there. That's it. That's my list.
I love how politically correct you are, my friend.
I'm a lawyer. I learned to be politically correct.
I'll just throw out a couple female basketball players. Lisa Leslie was an awesome basketball player. Very beautiful. She was a model and a player. And Jennifer Charasi, great point guard for the U.S. Team USA and for various teams in the women's league. So a couple of names there on the women's side, but just to tick those boxes.
Who are we going to agree is our top five then? Right, the on the ball.
Well, I think we all had Kareem, MJ,
we all had Michael Jordan,
and Larry Bird. We all had those three, right?
Mm-hmm. He was an honourable mention for me, but I'm happy to stick him in there.
Okay.
I've never seen the guy play, so I wouldn't know.
Larry Bird?
Yeah. I've never seen him play.
So okay, two others. So we had Kareem, Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul, Larry Bird. So I had Dr. J, but I don't know. Did you guys even have Julius Irving?
I had him as an honorable.
No mention for myself.
Who else did you have, Rick?
I had Danny Ainge, but because he's not on your list. Yeah.
Hey, then, you both had Steph Curry. Both Steph Curry.
So we can do Steph.
I like that because I like players that change the game. The Fosburys of the world.
Yeah.
Dick Fosburys of the world.
Yeah, exactly. All right, who's our fifth? Rick, you got somebody there.
Magic Johnson?
Yeah, Magic. That'd do it for me. He wasn't on my list, but I would agree.
Yeah, he was in my list and in Julian's list. But I think for you, James. Yeah. All right. So then we have it. Our top five. Yeah. Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. No, sorry. Magic Johnson. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Steph Curry.
Yeah, Steph Curry. Yeah, five.
Kareem and Steph. Yep. That's right.
Cool. Yep.
We're a hell of a team. What sport do we go to next?
That's fairly easy.
That was basketball is quite easy, but actually, to be fair, there is so many good players, in basketball. We didn't mention so many other players from the 80s and 90s. So anyway, we can't finish it if we continue that way.
Yeah.
Badminton.
No.
So big favorite in Asia. A big game used to be a big game from England, and then came to Asia, and that's it. Suddenly, the Indonesians were winning in the 60s, then Malaysia were winning it on the 60s and 70s, and then the Chinese came in. That's the end of it.
Don't forget the Danes. Don't forget the Danes.
They've always been around. Yeah, Denmark and England is still back, and also the other one is India. And then in women basketball,
let's come up with our five.
So maybe we've
Rick, you start us off. You've never
started. Okay. Well, I have but there's so many. I have two lists, one for the men and one for the women. And then among the men and women, I actually look for pre-Olympic and post-Olympic, because some of the players were really definitive at the time, but they had no Olympics. So they would not be fair that they are not in the list. So the players who are not in the Olympic list, but in my definitive list, for men, Prakash Padukone from India and Morten Frost from Denmark. These are the two. And from China is Yang, who was a very, very defty player. And I watched him play. He was really, really good. And Lim Swee King from Indonesia, legendary Indonesian player. And Malaysia's Rashid Siddiq. These are all just before. Rashid did go to the Olympics in 1992, but it was an exhibition game at the time. So, but Lim Swee King, Prakash Padukone, Morton Frost, and Yang, really, really good.
I haven't got any of those.
I'm a badminton fan, so I got these.
Jim, do you want to take us on?
Well, Ric's got, I think, some women coming up.
Oh, yeah. Hang on. And then for those who are in the Olympic list, of course, Lindan and Taufik Hidayat, they both won the Olympics. And to me, they are both a definitive player. And honorable mention is, I cannot pronounce his name correctly, the Danish player, Peter Gade. Peter Gade. Peter Gade. And of course, Lee Chongwei, who didn't win the gold medal, but is defined badminton. For ladies, those who won before the Olympics are Han Aiping from China and Li Lingwei. These two were the Monica Seles of women badminton in the 80s. They were really, really good. They won almost every major tournament. And then, of course, for those who won the gold medal for Olympics, definitely would be Carolina Maria from Spain. She was really good at the Rio Olympics. Fantastic player. And, of course, Suzy Susanti.
So what's your 5, mate? There's about 20 there.
Yeah.
So
it's not fair. It's not fair.
Yeah. No, you just mentioned anyone that was good. There's lots of give me 5. I want 5.
Well, for my 5 will be for mixer. Of course, Lindan, Lee Chongwei. I'm a Malaysian, so of course I support Lee Chongwei. I actually really like Prakash Padukone. Really, like, he won All England. He was a definitive player from India. And then the other one I really like is Morton Frost. He's so cool and calm. He defined badminton then. And Suzy Susanti. That's she was a class player.
That I can work with.
That's a good 5. That's a good 5 there.
That's a good 5. It is.
How about you, Jules?
Okay, so I had Lindan also. I had Lee Chongwei. I'm in Malaysia. How could I not mention him? Despite him not being the best of the best, but his consistency over a long period of time, I think, is noteworthy. Taufik, because I loved watching him. Taufik was brilliant. He was successful. He was very good. He was an Olympic champion, but just, his smashes and backhand smashes, and it was brilliant to watch. Next is Li Lingwei, who I thought was amazing. And then Suzy. Suzy Susanti was probably one of the first badminton players I became aware of when I first got to Asia. In Star Sport, it was Prime Sports as it was then, many, many, many years ago. And Suzy Susanti was our pin-up girl, as it were. And she was brilliant. She was just also a very, very nice person. And I got a couple of honourable mentions. One is Peter Gade, just to get a European in there. But also a little bit of a curveball is Xi Jinping, who is the wife of Lindan, but was a former world champion, and actually gave up very, very early in her career. Did become a wife and a mother with Lindan, but she was absolutely brilliant. She was also quite cute as well, which was
won the Indonesia Open. Her first victory was the Indonesia Open. Yeah, I remember that.
That's right. So anyway, she's my little honourable mention. Only because I always thought she was cute when I first met her. But anyway, my top: Lindan, Lee Chongwei, Taufik, Li Lingwei, and Suzy Susanti.
Good list.
Solid one. Solid.
Yep.
On my side, I took there are 5 disciplines in badminton, so I went by the discipline. So men's singles, ladies doubles, men's doubles, ladies singles, mixed.
So James being systematic, nice one.
Because otherwise you don't get the doubles players in much, right? So you're only talking about singles. So
good call.
My men's, and I had a difficult because I know a lot of the players, so it's hard to just because you know someone, you might want to bump them up the list, and I don't know that guy very well, so but it's very difficult. So I tried to be as objective as possible. But my my number one men's singles player of all time was Rudy Hartono, who I know and I've done business with and I played golf with. I've never beaten him on the golf course. Great athlete in general. He won All England 8 times.
Wow.
8 times in a row. That's to me, that's like something that will never be done again in the sport. It's also difficult to look at Lindan and Taufik and Lee Chengwei. You know, they're all kind of thereabouts, but none of them have ever won 8 All Englands. You know what I mean? So, and that's crazy back in the day to be able to do that. But all those other players, Lindan, Taufik, Lee Chengwei, there are Morton Frost, Rashid Siddiq. They're on my honorable mention. But my number one is Rudy Hartono for men's singles. Ladies singles, Zhang Ning. I don't know if you remember Zhang Ning, but when Lindan and when I guess Taufik was probably the ruling the world. Zhang Ning won.
I have her in my list. Yeah,
she won 2 Olympics, 2 Olympic gold. She 3 All Englands, 4 World Championships. So she was a dominant player in the late 90s, early 2000s. So she's my ladies singles. Ladies doubles is Yu Yang and Du Jing. These guys won 4 All Englands, 41 Super Series titles. Basically the best women's doubles team ever in the history of badminton. And again, China always has the best women's doubles. You know, there's no one. Even if you have a good women's doubles team, you're gonna have to beat 3 Chinese teams to make it to the title, and then not many other countries will do that. My list is exclusively Chinese and Indonesian, I must say, when I look at it now. But my men's doubles is Ricky and Rexy.
I love Ricky and Rexy.
They were just an awesome duo. You know, the emotion. They brought emotion into the game. You know, before that, they were just kind of stoic players on the court. These guys were fist pumping, and
they were great to watch, weren't they?
They were exciting to watch.
They had the coolest names of all doubles teams in the world. Ricky and Rexy. How cool is that?
Yeah, I know.
And Rexy ended up coming here to Malaysia and coaching for Malaysia, and his kids went to school with my kids at Garden School. So, a good guy. And my mixed doubles team is Liliana Natsir and Tantowi Amhad. They won 3 All Englands, 4 World Championships. So they were a great mixed doubles team for many years.
They were holding the flag or keeping the flame alive for Indonesia when they were going through a really crappy time post Taufik, didn't they?
They were. So that's my list. It's 3 Indonesian entities and 2 Chinese. So I don't know, but obviously
so,
Rashid getting. I also have Susie Susanti on the honorable mention, but Rashid Siddiq, honorable mention. Lee Chengwei, Morton Frost. There are a few there that are not.
Okay, so this gonna be.
I got 2 more names actually. I got 2 more.
No, you're not allowed. You're not allowed.
2 more names. There's Park Ju-bong and Chia Soon Kit. That's my honorable list because they define the doubles play. They can partner anybody and still win. They're really good men's doubles player. Park Ju-bong.
I like Chia Soon Kit's partner.
Su Bing Kiang.
No.
Or the other one. Yep. I think.
Yap Kim Hawk. Botak.
He was really good. Yeah. So who's our top 5?
Yeah, I think did we all have Lindan in there? No, James didn't.
Well, but I will go with that. He was on honorable mention.
For me, Lindan was unbelievable as a player.
I agree.
Who else did we all have?
Well, I didn't mention Taufik, but he's actually in my honorable list. But Julian don't allow me to mention any more names, so I don't know. I don't know.
You just listed about 100 players.
But they all,
bloody
good.
A
lot.
Yeah,
listed a lot of players, Rick.
Yeah.
How about women? Susie Susanti, we could say, right?
Yeah, I think we can have Susie.
I don't mind.
We can do Taufik, Lindan, Susie.
Taufik, Lindan, Susie. Yes.
Actually,
how about a doubles?
I'll go on. Let's go with doubles then.
Like a doubles, it can be any kind of doubles, ladies, mixed, men's. Ricky Rexy?
I don't mind Ricky. They were very good players.
I love Ricky and Rexy. Just for their name alone.
That's 4. We got one more. Who's our last one? Punch Gunalan?
Oh yeah, the late Dato Punch. What about Morton Frost? I think the two of us mentioned Morton Frost.
He's on my honorable mention.
Go for it. Right.
Yeah.
How easy is this, guys? We're all agreeing. What the hell's going on?
But he's good. Morton Frost is really, really good.
Yeah,
So Morton coached in Malaysia. Ricky coached in Malaysia. I'm looking on my list. Anybody else coach here in Malaysia? Everyone comes here to Malaysia to coach. All the best players in the world.
Yeah.
When is Malaysia gonna get back to the top of the world? It's like they've had all the best coaches, all the best talent, but it's it's gonna take a little while for them to get back. We hope it's soon.
Mate, I think there should be a reality show about that.
Someone should make it.
I think they should.
Someone out there.
Let me say this: there's a big group of young badminton players from Malaysia coming up. Of course, they're now coming out from the shadows of Chengwei. And then we have good mixed doubles players like Peng Sun and Goh Liu Ying, which is inspiring more. Yeah,
they're old.
But they're inspiring more new players. And I think give Malaysia another 2 or 3 years' time, we will have some top 10 players again, maybe even top 5. So let's
hope so.
I think that's more hope rather than fact.
Well, for Malaysia, we always hope. To Malaysia sports,
it's the hope that kills you.
Unfortunately, yeah. So let's see. Well, we've got our list top 5 for badminton. Quite a really good list, though. And badminton being so popular in this region, it was very difficult to narrow it down to just 5.
That's true.
I had difficulty.
Yeah, I can see that, mate. We can definitely see that.
Well, the next one is even worse. It's track and field. I mean, so many.
It's a huge list. I could have gone like you.
Before we go into the list, right? Why don't the two of you, and then I will share how do you test yourself? So when you're going through the list, how would you he's in, he's out, she's in, she's out. What was your test in your mind?
Thought process. Mine was when I was watching, when I was growing up, when I was even as an adult, who changed the game or who captured my imagination? Because there was, you could look at the records of lots of people that were maybe even better than the ones that I came up with, but they captured my imagination. They amazed me at the time and made me go, wow, that's impressive. Right, you, Jim?
Yeah, for me, they had to have done something that no one else did. Okay, a lot of people have world records, a lot of people won gold medals, but what did this athlete do that was wow? That was different than any other athlete, better than any other athlete. So like winning streaks or these types of things. So that was important to me.
I agree. For me, when I'm even for badminton and for basketball, in my mind was whether the person he changed the game or he made something different in the game or she created a moment which we'll never forget. So that kind of test for me. So like track and field, I'm sure all of us have our own way of testing, thought process.
Yeah, we have our favorite events, so we like the sprints,
exactly.
Julian and I like the sprints, and so sometimes we favor those athletes. So I tried to be as objective as possible.
I tried.
Field events.
Yeah, I tried and failed.
Well, lead us off, Jules. Tell us your definitive.
Okay, so you made a comment there about longest winning streaks there, Jim, and I bet you have him in your list, Ed Moses.
Edmond Moses.
Yeah.
Ed Moses.
We met. Were you there that night?
No, I wasn't.
I met him.
Yeah.
You met him at the conference, in Manila, right? Yes. So that's nice.
Edmond Moses, as I was growing up, 440 hurdler. He was his language style was great to watch, but 2, his unbeaten run of God knows how many races, God knows how many years, maybe James is
122
exactly.
races.
Yeah, Ed Moses was just superb. I loved watching Ed Moses. Obviously, in the same era, Carl Lewis, hero of mine growing up, because I was a sprinter. He was a sprinter. He was a long jumper. I was a long jumper, as was James. And so Carl Lewis, he was phenomenal. There was question marks over him from drugs. There's no two ways about it. There was a lot of question marks about him. Never got busted for it, but definitely question marks. But given it wasn't proven, you've got to give them the benefit, or at least I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Carl Lewis, it was like not only the sprints, not only it was 100, almost 200, not so great a true 100-meter runner, but the long jump as well and the relays. Ric's doing exactly opposite of what he said he was going to do before, which was just use the Google Images page rather than just one picture. But the other one I would go for is Michael Johnson for what he did on tour. The thing is, being a great 200-meter runner is hard. Being a great 400-meter runner is super hard, because I think it's one of the hardest events, if not the hardest event in track. But being a great 200-meter and 400-meter runner is phenomenal. And the speeds that he ran it at, it was just, it was gobsmacking. It was 96 at Atlanta Olympics when he won both of those events. Were they both world records, Jim?
They were
both world records in one games. But and the thing is, both world records were long-standing world records. Pietro Manea's 19.72 or something, or whatever that he ran. In late 70s, 79, I think it was. And then so in 96 he broke a world record from
easy for you to say.
Yeah, that was 1979. Studson 79, and then obviously the 400 meters he beat Butch Reynolds' records, if I remember rightly. I mean that was phenomenal. 43, whatever it was. Next one I had Mo Farah. He's won.
Mo Farah.
I had Mo Farah particularly. I could have gone for Lassie Viren because both runners had won the 5,000 and 10,000 meters at consecutive Olympic Games, which they're really, really tough events. And to win in the two events in Olympics 4 years apart, I think it's phenomenal. And the only reason I went for Mo is he's British. I mean, that's what you're going to do. So yeah, but he actually did the quadruple double or something like that. He won the 4,000, 5,000 and 10,000 at the Olympics, the World Championships, the Commonwealth Games, and maybe something else at the same time consecutively, which is phenomenal. Again, another one that has drug allegations against him hanging over his head. Whether that's true or not, his coach was busted, Alberto Salazar, who's a great marathon runner. So I don't know whether that's the case. I hope not. I sincerely hope not. And my final one has got to be the one just recently is Usain Bolt. I saw him in the flesh, and his times as a sprinter myself when I was young, and James was also a sprinter. You've got to appreciate that. I've got a few honorable mentions in the female categories, and again, there are two with drug allegations against them, and one proven. Marion Jones. It was my mum's name, but also Marion Jones in her pomp was superlative, brilliant, amazing, dominant, but unfortunately she was doping. That's a big shame. Flojo.
Why would you have somebody who's guilty of doping on your list?
Well, it's an honorable mention. I just at the time I thought, I mean, if she wasn't guilty, okay, look, we could argue all day about that, but I know where you're coming from. And I guess Jesse Owens I had as well. I say Flojo previously, but I'm convinced she was doping. She died far too young of an unexplained disease, and that's, I think, doping.
And she retired very fast. She won in 88, and then she retired in 89.
Correct.
Very strange, yeah.
Okay. Well, she was married to Al Joyner, who was a triple jumper.
That's right.
And Al Joyner is Jackie Joyner Kersey's brother. Yes. So there's like this whole family of like super elite athletes. All those.
Bob Kersey. Bob Kersey was a
Bob Kersey, right? Yeah, he was the coach of Jackie Joyner Kersey. Right. Yeah, but these guys were super families of in track and field.
What about you, James?
I had some that have not been mentioned. I did have Michael Johnson, so I won't go through him again. But I've got so from 5 up to 1. Counting down to 1. You got to keep that suspense. At number 5, the 5th spot on my list is Javier Sotomayor. He was a high jumper from Cuba.
Yeah,
He's the only jumper to have jumped over 8. His world record is 8 feet and a half inch. And there was a period of 12 years where he did not lose whenever he competed.
Really? I didn't know that.
88 to 2000. So that was I think a huge.
Brilliant.
Hats off.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Then you had Michael Johnson at number 4 position. He won 12, medals, gold medals or world championships. The 200, 400 thing at the Olympics, which is unbelievable. Number 3 position, Haile Gebrselassie. So if you're talking Mo Farah, Haile Gebrselassie had 27 world championships, gold medals in the various different distances over 17 years. So I think Mo Farah is still running. Let's see what he accumulates. He's a great runner now, but and he probably has more to win. But Haile did it, over 17 years. He did. From the 2,000 meters all the way up to the marathon. So that's a huge range of races.
Right. That is huge.
So that was big. The second position, field event. It's a pole vaulter, Sergei Bubka. You mentioned earlier, Rick. Rick, you mentioned him as being definitive.
Yeah, he's in my list.
He created. I'm got the Julian stutter. He has created. He had 35 world records. 35. He broke the world record 35 times, like his own record mostly. But he improved the world record 35 times. So to me, that's unbelievable. Then in the number 1 position, wait for it, Paavo Nurmi, the Flying Fin. He was a distance runner. Over 17 years, he never lost a race, never once. He was unbeaten, 121 races. Nobody ever beat him.
Wow.
Who else can say that in the sport of
I can remember reading about Paavo Nurmi, but I don't recall the 17 years of not losing. That's pretty impressive.
The Flying Fin. Yeah, he was. Talk about being the best at what you do. Like if you never imagine if a football club wins every match, 38-0, they go in a season, or it's just inconceivable to think that you would win every time. So to me, that's got to be the greatest athlete in track and field. Even Usain Bolt didn't win every race that he ran, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Oh, brilliant. Good list.
But some honorable mentions. I did have Ed Moses on the honorable mention, Jackie Joyner-Kersee, Usain Bolt, of course, Carl Lewis. Those guys all great. And again, it's hard to pick 5, just 5. But yeah. There you go. How about you, Rick?
Good list, man. Well, okay, I'll follow your style, James, from number 5 to number 1 with a few honorable mentions. My number 5 is a lady. And again, Chinaman, I can't get the name pronounced correctly. So correct me if I'm wrong. I pronounce it as Merlin Ottey.
Yeah, Merlin Ottey, yeah.
Merlin Ottey.
Yeah. Because she was running until she was 50 years old. There was a time that, she was tested positive once, but eventually the Court of Arbitration for Sports overturned it and felt that the whole test was tainted. So she started running for Jamaica, then she moved to Slovenia. But
that's right, yeah.
Until the age of 50, she was still competing and being competitive. Brilliant.
That's a good call. That's a very good call.
I find her to be definitive, and apparently, what I read is because of her, she has inspired many young Jamaican people to go into athletes, other than Usain Bolt, of course. But she's my number 5. My number 4 is actually, ironically, Michael Johnson. Not only because of the way he won the race and the gold medal and the world records, but it's the way he ran. His body was stunting, and I actually tried to do that once with a few of my friends. We tried to copy him, and we were falling down.
This is a sight I would have loved to have seen.
The 3 of us should do it, one of these days. You should try. It is difficult. How does he run like that? And the style was amazing. And
it was very true.
Yeah, so he's my number 4. My number 3 is Usain Bolt, and because when he came into the Olympics, I think about 12 years ago, people complained that he was too tall. He's slow start. He's a 200-meter runner, blah blah blah. But the way he blew apart the race and how he accelerated the last 50 meters, to me, that's definitive. I've not seen any runner who's always the last runner at the first 10 meters or sometimes 20 meters, and then eventually winning by 2-3 meters.
If he had Ben Johnson's start, he would have gone on 9
Yeah,
number 4.
But then, of course, Ben Johnson was full of dope, right? So Usain is my number 3. My number 2 is the legendary Jesse Owen, because of what he had to go through, and even if you look at some of the stories, even the shoe that he wore, he was given by the creator of Adidas. That moment, the whole story, and how he went up against the Nazi Germans in Berlin in 1936. It's like you're going to the enemy territory to run and win. Not 1 but 4 gold medals. And his friendship with the German long jumper.
Harry.
Yeah, I really thought he really defined an athlete at the time against all odds. And being an African American somehow, it's even more extra challenge in Berlin at the time. It was like, wow. But my number 1 is James number 2, Sergei Bubka. Because he was unbelievable. Every time, and Pole vault to me is just someone running with a long stick. But until Bubka came in, he made it
he made it sexy. He made pole vault.
Pole vault is so much fun to watch during a major championships because it gets the whole crowd going, and you sort of I must admit, Okay, so guys, we're running very late at the moment, so let's move swiftly on. Who's our top 5?
Well, it looks like we have Bubka on 2 lists.
Bubka,
Usain,
Bolt, Bolt.
Johnson.
Johnson, definitely.
I think given what James said about Pablo Normie, can't leave that out.
Can't leave it out. And Merlane Adi.
And I'll go for Merlane. I'll go for that.
Yeah.
Got it, guys. We got it.
That's a good one. Awesome.
I'm impressed.
Thank you. Well done.
Let's swiftly, given our timing, let's swiftly go into. Let's bring up some athletes who are underrated. Athletes who really don't get the song and dance that maybe a lot of other athletes do. And you could say someone like Merlin Ottey is in that category.
Yep.
Athletes that really sort of fly a little bit under the radar, aren't the Michael Johnsons, Michael Jordans, Messis of the world, but the ones that, without them, a lot of these guys would never have been the same, or just they were athletes that were people forget about. So let's throw it out there.
I'll start off with. I thought you remember John McEnroe? He's a great singles player, great tennis player. He actually played doubles, and he's one of the winningest doubles players in the history of tennis. Who is his doubles partner?
Peter Fleming.
See, Julian, but not many people do. Not many people remember that. They won 57 titles together, a lot of Grand Slams. And John McEnroe, I think, is the 5th winningest doubles player in the history of tennis. And he did most of that with the unsung hero, Peter Fleming. That's one example.
That's the epitome of this category. He is the epitome of this category. There is no one that is epitomized.
More unsung.
Better. Yeah.
No one who has sung less than his praises.
You're right.
Then in basketball, we all think of Michael Jordan. We think of Scottie Pippen. But actually, Scottie Pippen is not an unsung hero. A lot of people talk about how great he was. But on that team, I think the second three-peats that they had, 94 to 96, I think it was, 97, 95 to 97, whatever it was. Luke Longley as the center of that team, setting the picks for Michael Jordan to get open, to get his open shots and score his points. I think Luke Longley was really an unsung hero on that team. you don't even hear about him. Even in that the documentary that came out, not much was said about Luke Longley.
But didn't they? Yeah, they underplayed him. I thought there was a quick interview with him, but he was underplayed.
But he was an essential piece of that team, and you really don't hear about him, And he was in the middle. He was the defense. He was the rebounding. Him and Rodman, and there you go. That's a great shot, Jordan. When Longley was out injured, Jordan called him up and said, "When are you coming back, man? I need someone to set picks for me." Like he's asking for him to get back on the court as soon as possible. So I think Luke Longley, unsung hero. And my last ones that I'm going to talk about is a group of people. When in football, when England won their only World Cup in 1966, the top 6 players, they had a bunch of guys: Bobby Charlton, Jeff Hurst, Bobby Moore, Jack Charlton, Gordon Banks, and Martin Peters. They were all immediately given the MBE. So they were called Sir Bobby Charlton right away. Boom, right after they won. But what about the other 5 players? It takes 11 of you guys to win a title, right? So Nobby Stiles, Alan Ball, Roger Hunt, Ray Wilson, and George Cohen didn't get their MBE until 1999. They were also on the pitch, helping those other guys win that World Cup. And so, but it took them 23 years to get that, and I think actually 33 years. Sorry, my math is infamously terrible. To get their MBEs, but they finally got it. Unsung heroes, all 5.
That's a good call. Just a quick point of reference: you don't get called Sir with an MBE. MBE is Sir is a knighthood. But again, Sir Bobby Charlton, Sir Bobby Moore, they were knighted. But what about the rest of them? Why weren't they knighted? Yeah.
There you go. That's it. That's what.
That is a good list you have there.
It is a good
list.
Right. It's a very. That first one of Peter Fleming, I think, trumps everything anyone's going to say going forward. Actually,
let's see what you got.
So mine are a little bit quirky, and some at the time were not necessarily unsung, but in history they've become unsung. And my first one is Monica Seles. Monica Seles is a player who everyone remembers. Yeah, she's quite good. Oh, isn't she the girl that got stabbed? Yeah, absolutely. She got stabbed on the court in Hamburg. Some crazy dude decided that he liked Steffi Graf more than he liked Monica Seles and decided to stab her. Very nice of him. Anyway, what people forget about her, she won 8 Grand Slams before she was 20. So in her teens, she won 8 Grand Slams. Then she gets stabbed. She's out for 2 years. And the big problem was her injury healed within a few months. But psychologically, her safe place in her life was the court. And she was stabbed while she was on the court. And so that messed up her life, messed her up psychologically. And nobody can understand what she will have gone through. But she then came back and won the Australian Open after putting a hell of a lot of pounds on from being away for so long. And for me, that's amazing. I mean, unfortunately, she never really won anything else. I mean, I think she won a few other tournaments, but she didn't win any more majors after that. But people forget that this girl could have been in the Steffi Grafs, the Margaret Court, Billie Jean King, Martina Navratilova, sort of type of person, type of winner. Category, that's the word I was looking for, and I failed to get. So anyway, that's my first. I think she's a little bit unsung in the history of tennis. Other one is George Foreman. You got to remember, George Foreman, the boxer, was probably the baddest man on the planet. The baddest man on the planet when he was fighting as a young man before he lost to Muhammad Ali in the Rumble in the Jungle. But the fact that he came back, and the reason I brought up George, because I just read an article about him, about how he came back from 10, 15 years, and he fought and won the world championship again at the age of, I think, 45 or whatever it was. But I think that's quite unsung, and he was a bit of a joke near the end. He was the guy that had the grills, that did the George Foreman grill. But, to be a world champion, a dominant world champion at first, and then to come back 15 years later to be a world champion, people don't really look at him as, he was a great. But actually, for me, that's a great.
I agree.
One,
I totally agree. The one thing about George Foreman is he had something like 8 sons, and they're all named George.
I know, it's great.
Yes. Oh.
That's superb. That's superb.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Next one I had was Nicole David, greatest squash player of all time, in the female squash players of all time, bar none. And outside of Malaysia, and even in Malaysia, if I'm really honest with you, is not as heralded as she should be. I'll never forget going to see her play in Damansara Mutiara, the curve. And she was wearing, I think it was like Nike shoes, Asics skirt, and a Nike top, or some other brand, and a different brand of racket. I'm like, this is the greatest player of all time, and she hasn't got a manufacturer sponsoring the hell out of her. She was like using different bits of kit that, maybe she got a little bit of a small sponsorship, and that just amazed me. I used to sell squash, so I know squash and how little it's seen outside of the traditional powerhouses of the countries. But I think she should be heralded a lot more than she possibly is. Another one is Adrian Heath. This is for all Everton fans out there. He was a player on the verge of being called up by England, and got injured just as he was about to be called up. Was possibly never the same player again, and he was never remembered in the great Everton team of the 80s. But that's to be honest, that was just for me and Rick and all our Everton friends out there. Nobody else is going to think about that one. But I think one of the greatest unheralded heroes is a gentleman called Julian Jackson, the middleweight champion of the world. Not me. I am Julian, not Jackson, but the middleweight champion of the world, the hardest puncher of all time.
Definitely not you.
Definitely not me, yeah, without a doubt. But I'll never forget him beating an English boxer who was probably one of the best English boxers to never win a world title, a guy called Harold Graham. Harold Graham was absolutely slaughtering him. There he is with the greatest flat top of all in boxing, actually in history, outside of Larry Blackmon. If anyone knows who Larry Blackmon is, but James probably does. But this guy had a punch from hell. He knocked Harold Graham out spark cold after being beaten for like 8-9 rounds. He won a couple of world titles, different weights, and is often not seen as one of the greats, but is seen as one of the greatest punchers of all time. And I think he's an unsung hero, but more than anything else, he's got the greatest name of all time.
Well, that's actually a surprise. That is a surprise, and I've never even heard of the guy. So definitely, really? He's unsung. He has never been sung to me. But I should actually add one real quick one. The guy who won the Super Bowl for, I think it was 2 or 3 Super Bowls ago, for the New England Patriots, a running back named James White, who scored the winning touchdown for the Patriots. Also unsung here. You think of Tom Brady, you think of Gronkowski, but James White won the Super Bowl for them that year. So shout out to James White. Anyway, how about you? I know you've got an interesting selection for this.
Unfortunately, there's no great player by name of Richard Wee. So okay, I've got 2. Initially, I had 1, but after speaking to all of you, I remember this other one. The first one, today being a Malaysian Merdeka Day, I want to refer to some local unsung heroes. My first one, even though I'm a football fan of Farah Football FA, and to some extent Kelantan, because my parents are from Kelantan. But in the late 80s, there was this gentleman by the name of Tan Sri Elias Omar. He took over the Kuala Lumpur Football Association, and he changed the way the football recruitment took place. He recruited the 3 good players from Singapore, K. Kanan, Malik Awab, and Fandi Ahmad, and they stormed and won the Malaysia Cup. And because of what he did, other players started to look for quality import players to come in. Other clubs brought in quality import players. And actually, if you ask me, the way we run our Malaysian Football League, many of it comes from the way Tan Sri Elias was running the Kuala Lumpur Football Association in the 80s. He's passed away, but I've always respected him. Rest in peace. And I thought he was one of our unsung heroes in the local football scene. The next one, to me, he's really, really heroic at that moment. In 1992, Malaysia was going up against a formidable and favorite Indonesian badminton team in the Thomas Cup. The only thing going for us was that we were playing in Malaysia. And we have played in Malaysia before for Thomas Cup's badminton, which is the World Cup of badminton, and we have lost. But that year, that team, Malaysia had a chance. We had a talented Rashid Siddiq. We had a very good badminton pairing of Chia Sung Kit and Su Beng Kiang. And we have three other players, second doubles and the second and third badminton players who were pretty good too. But Indonesia had Alan Budi Kusuma, Joko Supriyanto. They were world champions. And they had Lim Swee King, very good player. But what happened was, we sent out our best players. I think it was Rashid Siddiq. And Rashid lost. No, not Rashid, sorry. Rashid lost. And then we sent our second badminton player, Fu Kok Kiong, who was no way can he beat the Indonesian player. And against all odds, he won his singles match and turned the game around. And we won the Thomas Cup because of him. So, and he beat this guy named, which is something like the Andre Agassi of badminton, R.D. Viranatha.
Yeah. R.D. Viranatha,
yeah.
I got a picture with RD and myself.
He's a really good player.
Yeah.
So when Kok Kiong walked onto the court, we were like, oh no, there's no way. But he played the game of his life and won. So for many of us Malaysians, we remembered Kok Kiong for that. He's an unsung hero for the 1992 team. So that's my list.
Respect to Datuk Punch Gunalan, who I think was one of the team captains for that team, and also to Tan Sri Alamin, who was the guy who put the players together and managed that team. So, and the players themselves, awesome. It's the biggest. It's kind of like England winning in '66. This is Malaysia's big, last big victory on the international scene.
Yeah, we've always been like semi-finalists, losing finalists. We've been top 4, top 2 for so many years, and finally in '92 we won. And true enough, since then we haven't won again. So there you go, Fu Kok Kiong and Tan Sri Elias Omar.
That's a good one.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Nice ones.
In fact, before, I think talking about RIP, mentioned that I think we lost a great actor 2 days ago in our Mr. Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, right?
Yeah.
So Wakanda forever, So
for sure. Absolutely.
I've never seen the movie, but yeah, fair play.
Too soon. Too soon. He's only 43 years old, so yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah. Let's go around the videos. Anything you want to say, James, before we?
Well, I just want to say happy Merdeka Day to all Malaysians, and Selamat Hari Merdeka, and we certainly hope that Malaysia will continue on in its proud traditions moving forward and being a wonderful place to live for all three of us. So congratulations. Happy Merdeka Day.
What he said.
Okay. For your information, ladies and gentlemen, today is our last episode for this season. We'll probably come back in a few weeks' time with the season 2 at a different location, maybe. And today is it's slightly misconceived. It's a Merdeka Day for the Malaya, because we're going to have Malaysia Day in 2 weeks' time when Sabah, Sarawak, and Malaya formed Malaysia. So
quick shout out to Pat Pinto, who said hello from Melbourne. Good to see you.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah,
everything's all right.
Okay, so thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We have a good season, good 10 episodes, and
thanks, a lot of fun doing the show with you.
Okay, all right. So thank you very much. Music on, and we'll call the live show today. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.
Take care, everyone.